But today I've also got a confession. When I was younger, I was in a gang of two. It involved me and one of my brothers. I was 10 and he was 8. Our gang was called the Crime Busters. Our mission was to find crime and to bust it. Our equipment was 2 knackered old bikes and 2 cheapo walkie-talkies. And we had a passion to find crime and to fight it on Britain's most dangerous street. That brother is still a crime buster, only this time for real, as a chief superintendent, having started as a PC some 25 years ago. Over the years, I've heard what he's had to say about policing. I know the tricky situations that he's been in. He's been hospitalized more times than by being assaulted on duty, more times than I care to remember. I remember him missing a Christmas once for having his jaw dislocated. I've seen the impact that the job has on family life. And as you would expect from a brother, he doesn't shield me from the truth. Long before I was a politician, he took me out on a ride-along in the back of his police car in Bristol city centre. I thought it would be an interesting insight into his job. But I wasn't prepared for the abuse he and his colleague received that night. I will prioritise police funding in the spending review next year. You have a job like no other. You never know what you're going to be faced with. It might be a murder case, child abuse, it could be a serious accident. And it's not surprising that when you're dealing with all that, it all takes a toll on you. So as you've rightly said throughout this conference, as Callum said, and again, absolutely right, we need to protect the protectors. The government has already pledged £7.5 million for a new national police welfare service. It's a step, one step, in the right direction. But together, I want us to totally transform the welfare provision for officers.
Have called him amongst other things, a coconut and an Uncle Tom.
What?
Has that abuse motivated or depressed my right honourable friend in the challenge which he faces?
Disgusting. I hope it's been condemned.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I've said earlier in this House that what I'm interested in is a compliant, not a hostile environment. But when people talk about a hostile environment, what my honourable friend reminds me of is actually some of the hard left that has joined the party opposite ever since the leader of the opposition became a leader, and how their anti-Semitism has been tolerated, and how
Order! But I cannot hear a word for the shouting. My problem is, if I can't hear, I can't make a judgment on what's being said. What we've got to do is keep in order, and it's making life very difficult, and it doesn't do us any favours, please, in trying to keep it. Home Secretary.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, I was talking about members of the hard left that have created a hostile environment in their own party, and people that welcome my appointment by calling me a coconut and an Uncle Tom. And if that's something the Leader of the Opposition thinks is wrong, why doesn't he get up in the dispatch box right now and denounce them? Mr. Deputy Speaker, I didn't think he'd want to say anything, and we know exactly what he thinks about a hostile environment in the Labour Party against people's back.
Order! The House must come to order. I want to hear this debate. We have constituents who want to hear this debate. This debate is very important to this country and the people of this country. Diana, I think you've given way, I understand.
To respond to Home Secretary and say that I've been online condemning the racist abuse against him. I know what racist abuse is. So everyone on this side of the House, without exception, condemns the names he has been called.
Home Secretary.
Well, first of all, I thank the Right Honourable Lady for getting up the dispatch box and making that absolutely clear. And I thank her also for condemning the racism that I refer to. And I know, like me, she has suffered from racism as well, and it is wrong on any person, whoever they are, wherever they come from in our country. And when it happens, and it particularly happens in political parties, including my own when it has happened in the past, it's incumbent on all political leaders to stamp on it. When I heard that people who were long-standing pillars of their community were being impacted for simply not having the right documents to prove their legal status in the UK, I thought that it could be my mum, my brother, my uncle, or even me. I want to start by making a pledge to those from the Windrush generation who have been in this country for decades and yet have struggled to navigate through the immigration system. This never should have been the case, and I will do whatever it takes to put it right.
But let me tell you another story, a story which started in the 1960s. Sajid Javid left Pakistan and landed in Heathrow. He spent what little he had on a coach ticket and spent his first night right here in Birmingham. Then he continued up north to Lancashire to find work on a cotton mill. After standing outside that mill for weeks, he got that first job, and then he started a family. Eventually, there were 7 of us living in a 2-bedroom flat on what the papers called Britain's most dangerous street. That's my story. And if you had told me then what I would be doing now, I would tell you it's less believable than any TV drama. That makes me so proud, not just for myself and my family, but for my country. So, what does the Conservative Party have to offer a son of an immigrant kid from a working-class background from Rochdale? You made him Home Secretary. Here's the pledge of this party. Britain, a home for all its citizens. Together we will build a stronger home. Now, beyond Britain, outside our home, the winds of division and extremism are blowing strong. All over the world, we are seeing an appeal being made to intolerance, to closed societies, to aggressive nationalism, to autocracy. Well, not here, not in conservative Britain. It might not always feel like it, but our mainstream values and our cultural values, they unite us all. We are, and we will continue to be, the home of rule of law, of civil liberties, of firm but fair immigration, of racial equality, and of respect for every one of our citizens. Those who break the law, they undermine the foundations of our home. That's why Conservatives will always be the party of law and order. I know that some people are starting to feel a sense that law enforcement is becoming too detached from day-to-day crime, too distant from some of our rural areas. Faced with increasing demands and finite resources, our police forces do a fantastic job, and I will always support them. The rise in serious violence in London and our other cities is especially worrying. There's no time for sitting around when young people are dying on our streets. We need to bring everything and everyone to bear on this. Through our serious violence strategy, we have already brought together all the key parts of government, law enforcement, and society. And now we will do more. We will take steps to introduce a new statutory duty for all agencies to tackle this problem together. That means those in health, education, social services, local government, housing, the whole lot. I'm also pleased to announce today a new £200 million endowment fund that will target young people at the risk of starting a life of crime and violence. We know that one of the causes of the rise in serious violence is changes in the market for illegal drugs. We need a much better understanding of who the drug users are, what they take, how often they take it, and so much more. So I will launch a major review of the market for illegal drugs. And armed with this evidence, I will step up that fight against drugs and gangs that prey on our children. Because on my watch, illegal drug use will never be tolerated. We have adopted many of the best bits of other countries. It has made us a global hub for culture, for business, for travel. It has broadened our horizons and boosted our economy in so many ways. It has made our home stronger. And after Brexit, we still need it to stay strong and prosperous. We want to welcome people to this country. And I say to those EU citizens who have already made the UK their home, you have benefited our country. You are part of our country, part of many of our families, part of our home. So let me be very clear. Deal or no deal, we want you to stay, we need you to stay, you can stay. And we will not stand back when some people go absolutely against everything we stand for. If you leave our home and you go abroad to join Daesh or some other terrorist group, you are rejecting our values and endangering our security. That's why in the Counter-Terrorism and Border Security Bill, we will introduce a new designated area offence. This gives the Home Secretary the power to criminalise travel to terrorist hotspots like Daesh's so-called caliphate. You have to have a damn good reason to go somewhere like that, and if you don't, we will prosecute you. And if you are actively engaged in fighting for these groups, you should also know that you are putting your citizenship at risk. The Home Secretary has the power to strip dual citizens of their British citizenship. It is a power used for extreme and exceptional cases. It should, of course, be used with great care and discretion, but also determination. In recent years, we have exercised this power for terrorists who are a threat to our country. Now, for the first time, I will apply this power to some of those who have been convicted of the most grave criminal offences. And this applies to some of the despicable men involved in gang-based child sexual exploitation. So my message to the very worst criminals is clear. If you grossly abuse the laws of this country, you will no longer be welcome in our home. It is when we're comfortable with our own security, identity, and values that we are also comfortable being open with others, whether at home or abroad. That means building that safe home, that tolerant and welcoming home, that home where everyone plays by the same rules. We are the party that can make this happen, driven by a patriotic belief in what this country is about and what we are capable of. Proud of who we are, proud of what we do, and proud of where we're going. I speak with feeling about this country, because for my family, Britain was a choice. They came here for freedom, security, opportunity, and prosperity. It is because of these strengths that I have always been an optimist about Britain's future. And now it is my duty as their son and as a child of this country to help secure for this generation and for future generations all of the things that make this country a beacon for the world. Together, we will build that stronger home. Thank you. Thank you.